Okay. Update. I haven't been sleeping. I haven't slept a full night for at least a week or two, and that's because, to be honest, I forgot to renew my prescription for sleeping pills, and since I've had a shitload of extra time because I'm awake all night, I've been playing Mother. It's pretty fun. I don't have any Psy yet, and it's been really weird so far. I mean, it perfectly matches my assumption of what small town America is like, because they're constantly talking about eating each other's flesh and shit. So I guess that's fine. But I'll give you a quick run through of what's been happening so you sort of understand where I'm coming from with this. You get to the town of Mother's Day, and people there are saying some weird shit about the dead walking the earth. Oh, and on the way, you find out that your neighbor Pippi is missing. You explore the town, and the mayor tells you to find Pippi. But first, up in the department store, you get given a baby canary, and the whole goal is for you to wander out into the middle of ass fuck nowhere to give it back to its mother. It took me ages to figure out how to get the canary to the mother, by the way, because it turns out there's the secret passageway behind this fucking different coloured gravestone. The next job was to head south and to find the missing neighbour. Turns out she's in this huge graveyard and there's a church in there, and I assume that there'll be something important in the church, but all it has in it is this guy regretting his life decisions because he can't convince the zombies that they need Jesus. This tiny little town has two huge cemeteries right next to it, and the number of gravestones way outweighs the population of the town, and I think that's kind of weird, but you know what? Probably just a game design choice. I'll just move on with that. Found the girl, Pippi, among a bunch of coffins with zombies in them, which was kind of fucked up again. I tried to return her to her mother, but her mother wouldn't take her, so I gave her to the mayor, and the mayor gave me a cash reward. And my next job was to go to the zoo and sort out some kind of problem that they're having there. But I haven't done that yet because I was too busy doing some Googling and working out whether my theory is right. Because, of course, I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't have some kind of theory. So, the plot seems innocuous enough, right? Like, you gotta rescue somebody, you gotta go to a bunch of different graveyards. It's kind of weird, but it's just an ordinary 1980s RPG kind of weird shit. But something isn't right here, and doesn't all this just remind you of something? The early 1900s, the disappearing child, the meeting in the cemetery, the eventual finding of the child in the graveyard? This shit is about the Lindbergh baby. Obviously. I know I'm really sleep deprived, and my friends are sick of me blowing up their group chat to tell them about this, but I seriously think this game is trying to tell me something. That weird guy I got it off knew the meaning behind this game, and I think I've figured it out too. So let me go over this. For a start, the timeline fits really well. George and Maria mysteriously vanish back in the 1900s. We see a boy now who comes from a nondescript family in the middle of nowhere, but the power wielded by his great-grandfather is still important. We are asked to go locate a missing child. There is a money reward, but the first thing we do is go and take a canary back to its mother in a cemetery. The hostage negotiation for the Lindbergh baby took place in a cemetery by a retired schoolteacher who was named John Condom, I think. The captors were chatty, and they proved that they had the baby by sending the kid's sleeping suit to the Lindberghs. In other words, they sang like a canary in a cemetery. There's even a Jane Goodall type living with the canaries. He's a scholar. John Condon was a school teacher. Then we actually go looking for the kid. After a lot of false leads and random zombies, we eventually find her in a graveyard in a coffin. Months after the Lindbergh baby went missing, they discovered the baby dead near the house where he went missing. So, after a bunch of false leads, the baby was found ready for the graveyard. Then there's this guy in the church. He's preaching the good truth, but no one will listen. Coincidentally, Ricky was arrested and executed for the crime of killing the Lindbergh baby, even though the evidence against him was really sketchy. Until his dying day, he refused to confess to the crime and maintained that he was innocent, but no one was listening. So he was preaching, but the crowd was too caught up in mob hysteria to listen to him. Ricky was a good Christian man too, a Lutheran. Coincidence? No. I take Pippi back to her mother and she won't take her. Only the mayor will. Note that Pippi is a girl and she's not accepted by her mother. The Lindbergh baby was found badly decomposed only a few miles from where he had vanished. It is clear that he had died the night of the murder, but instead of getting a proper examination to confirm it was his kid, Charles Lindbergh Sr. just had him cremated. So, this is just like with Pippi. Pippi is a girl and so is obviously not her son. But the mayor will accept her because it closes the case. Just like how the Lindbergh baby never even confirmed to be the Lindbergh baby, but it was accepted because it closed the case. What I'm saying is that the mother never got the chance to see her baby return, but the ransom had already been paid, which is exactly what happens in the game. Plus, the town is called Mother's Day, and the game is obviously called Mother. Maybe it's about the bond between the baby's mother and the injustice of his death. Pippi's mother hands me the Franklin badge. Franklin D. Roosevelt was the governor of nearby New York at the time of the disappearance of the Lindbergh baby and would become president during the investigation that followed the finding of the corpse. It's her way of saying that Franklin will be coming in soon. It's also an obvious allusion to Benjamin Franklin, and I assume the badge does the same thing it does in Earthbound. Deflect lightning. I don't know how that fits in other than that Charles Sr. was a master of deflection. And at first, I thought I was going crazy when I started making all of these links, but the text at the start really sealed the deal for me. Maria and George were the ones who mysteriously went missing, right? George V was King of England when the baby went missing, and Maria was the name of Charles Lindbergh Sr.'s car, a link to his childhood, and so a link to his mother and a source of nostalgia. I'm thinking that the main character, Little Abden here, is the great-grandson of Charles Lindbergh Sr., hence why we have a great-grandfather with some kind of secret power and a guilty past writing down his thoughts. The power is his inheritance, and he was a wealthy fuck, so that's a lot of money. This means my character's grandfather was the real Lindbergh baby. We've shown that the baby found in the graveyard was a girl, and so was not the real Lindbergh baby. Ergo, the baby that was cremated in the 1930s wasn't the Lindbergh baby. After all, no one really identified or autopsied it. It could have been any baby, and it was the 1930s. Babies were cheap. The Lindbergh baby could have survived and grown up and could have moved to rural America to have kids and grandkids, giving us Ampton. And this whole game is about a cover-up regarding the death of the Lindbergh baby. Maybe it's about what actually happened, and I hope it might explain which dead baby they did find and why people went to the trouble of creating a fake kidnapping and all of these false leads. I'm going to keep playing it. I just wanted to put together this video so I can organize my thoughts because no one else is listening to me. If you guys can figure out any other connections between the goddamn Lindbergh baby and this game that I haven't touched on already, please let me know what's going on so I can figure out what's happening to me.